Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin, I do want to thank our host, Lord Burlington, for allowing us to be here this weekend. It's wonderful for the Queen's Reading Room. Thank you, my lord. You're brilliant. My thanks to all of you. I'm one of the trustees of the Queen's Reading Room, and if you're wondering why I am standing up here this evening, then already we have something in common. I'm just here to help out, and because I'm wearing a colourful jumper, you can see who I am. Last night, we had a wonderful speech here from Vicky Perrin, who's the chief executive of the Queen's Reading Room. And as I hope all of you know, the charity is here to encourage a love of reading, of words, of books, of language. And I imagine you're all here because you also love reading books and language. This is the culmination of an extraordinary day. We've had thousands of people coming to Chatsworth to meet authors, to meet actors, to meet illustrators, to meet publishers, to meet editors, and to celebrate books. Thousands of people. And it's been very exciting. And it couldn't have happened without Vicky and Charlie and Kirsty and Molly and Eva and Lola and the team from the Queen's Reading Room. Can we please salute all of them? My wife has often reminded me that men are unreliable. You cannot rely on a man in life. She has told me this so often, I'm sure she is right. But she does believe that you can rely on a book. That's the joy of a book. A book is something you can rely on. You know, books don't let you down. And you can take a book anywhere. You can't necessarily take a man anywhere, but you can take a book anywhere. You can take a book on holiday, on the train, on the bus. You can, well, the difference between a man and a book is that you can go to bed with a book and wake up with a clear conscience. So books are everything. Books are important to us. And I love poetry books. Poetry and books are my friends. And I think we're all here because we have found in good times and bad times that you can fall into a book and escape into another world that is rather special. And the joy of poetry is that it can take you almost in a few phrases, in a few lines, to somewhere where you haven't been before or somewhere where you want to be again. I'm wearing this funny jumper because I'm a fan of A.A. Milne and Winnie the Pooh. And you may be surprised to know that When We Were Very Young is the most successful volume of poetry written in the 20th century. It was published on the same day as The Great Gatsby in 1924. And The Great Gatsby didn't do badly. In its first year, it sold 20,000 copies. When We Were Very Young, in America alone, published in October, sold 200,000 copies before Christmas. And it is still the most successful poetry book published in the 20th century. And I love light verse. A contemporary of A.A. Milne was Hilaire Belloc, and he wrote these lovely famous lines that some of you will be familiar with. From quiet homes and first beginning out to the undiscovered ends, there's nothing worth the wear of winning but laughter and the love of friends. Books are our friends. You are the friends of the Queen's Reading Room. There's laughter in the air and magic too, as I begin our evening by introducing you to two of my really good friends, who are two of the most delightful, exciting, interesting poets alive today. Would you please welcome Roger McGough and Ben Okri?
Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Please feel free to, I'll sit last because you are a commander of the Order of the British Empire. Yeah.
Oh, yes, oh, here.
Don't take it for granted.
Yes.
This is the Queen's Reading Room. We believe in that sort of thing. And you are a Knight of the Realm, which is pretty impressive. But you're both poets, and that's why you're here tonight. I want to begin with you, Roger, and I would love you just to take us into your world of poetry by, as a kind of amuse-bouche, giving us, before we dine, one or two of your favourite poems?
One or two?
Well, 3 or 4.
I had 27 in mind, actually. I'm sorry, I'm not. I joke. Hello, lovely to be here. How's it going so far? Are you enjoying it? I'll just read a poem. I'll just start with 2 very new poems written in the last month. This one's called Alexa, Is This a Poem? For several months now, my routine on waking has been to turn to Alexa and say, Alexa, who is Roger McGough? And listen carefully to the information she provides. Then, clear-headed, I'm up and out of bed, ready to comply with the narrative and become the person she has described. However, this morning, her response to my simple question was to hesitate before saying, sorry, I don't know the answer to that one. Would you like me to play Radio 4? Stultified, paralyzed, and mortified, I remained bedbound for the rest of the day. Who am I? What do I do? Who out there in the world can I trust to tell me? Close to 10 o'clock that night, a thought occurred. Alexa, I said, what day is it today? April the 1st, she replied. Known throughout the world as April Fool's Day. Did you enjoy my little joke this morning, Roger? I regret acting as cruelly as I did and will always remember her last words. Amazon, help, help, help. This is written the day before yesterday, called The Chamber. When the chamber becomes smelly, politicians being full of hot air, the Speaker of the House upstanding will declare, odor, odor. Anyway, we're here to celebrate books. We all love books, and this is a poem that does just that, and it's called Take Comfort. Take comfort from this. You have a book in your hand, not a loaded gun or a parking fine, or an invitation card to the wedding of the one you should have married but were too selfish. Always imagining there was someone better out there, but there wasn't. And now as the body's pace slackens and the years sprint past, what are the chances of your finding that perfect, elusive partner? Highly unlikely. Like an empty glass on a barroom counter, loneliness beckons. Not an empty glass or a bottle smashed on a barroom counter. A photograph of the one you'll always regret not marrying. Not a letter from the hospital, the results devastating. After the disaster, the dust and the screaming, a child's arm thrust out from the rubble. You have none of these in your hand. A dirty syringe or a deadly scorpion. A Molotov cocktail or an overdose. Not a loaded gun or a parking fine. You have a book in your hand. Take comfort from this. Allen Ginsberg had a poem published in 1995 called The Ballad of the Skeletons, which I liked. I liked the structure of the poem. But it's very much about the New York that he lived in at the time. So I took the structure and changed it to the Ginsberg skeleton. Said the FIFA skeleton, hide the whistle and line our pockets. Said the arms dealer skeleton, sell them mortars, tanks, and rockets. Said the dope dealer skeleton, I can't cope with the demand. Said the false prophet skeleton, it is written in the sand. Said the tobacco skeleton, there's 1 billion lungs to fill. Said the ISIS skeleton, that's what we do, we kill. Said the whip-cracking skeleton, love that lip-smacking blood. Said the beheading skeleton, it's just like chopping wood. Said the far-right skeleton, we must keep them at the borders. Said the tear gas skeleton, I'm just obeying orders. Said the people's smuggler skeleton, I put freedom within reach. Said the washed-up skeleton, they found me on the beach. Said the COVID skeleton, sorry, I'm not finished yet. Said the World Bank skeleton, you can breathe when you paid your debt. Said the NRA skeleton, it's a basic human right. Said the bullet-riddled skeleton, yup, damn right. Said the schoolgirl skeleton, I wish we never met. Said the grooming skeleton, what you see ain't what you get. Said the self-harming skeleton, the blade cuts out the ache in me. Said the Jesus skeleton, why hast thou forsaken me? Said the payday skeleton, keep on taking out the loans. Said the skeleton of color, am I the token bones? Said the Harley Street skeleton, you could never afford my fee. Said the lying in state skeleton, what you see is what you'll be. Said the skeleton in the cupboard, who locked me up in here? Said the Brexit skeleton, seemed a good idea. Said the artificially intelligent skeleton, wonders never cease. Said the Ginsberg skeleton, now let me rest in peace. Said the Ginsberg skeleton. Just do one more for me.
Please.
And just do one more.
As you want.
And this poem is Call Me World. I am land. I'm happy for you to live on me, till and plough, graze your cattle, build your homes upon me. I will feed, nourish, even bury you, but I'm not yours. Not yours to fight over, to invade and plunder, divide and destroy. I do not belong to you. Even though you claim me, I'm not yours. I've no name, flag, or anthem. Call me world. When I make you angry, call me names. Earthquake, wildfire, and volcano. Call me tsunami, tornado. But do not call me China or Russia, Ukraine or Taiwan. I'm not your Israel or Palestine, your America or United Kingdom. I am land. I've no name but earth. Call me world. I will sit for your landscape paintings, pose for your cameras, for your songs and poems, be a source of inspiration. But I'm not yours. Japan, Pakistan, choose a name. Iran, Afghanistan, one and the same. You come and go. Only I remain. Call me world.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Oh.
Wow. Well, if we wanted evidence that you can, in 2 minutes, that last poem, pack a punch and move us, it's extraordinary. You can just do that in a few lines. I want to explore with you in a moment how you do that, how that comes to you. Ben, it's wonderful you're here. You're a novelist as well as a poet and a playwright. How do you write? How do you get an idea for writing a poem?
That's a very difficult question. I mean, ideas come to you when you don't want them, I find. When I sit at my desk and want an idea, it never turns up. I go for walks. Sometimes I'm, to borrow the Yeats phrase, angered into poetry. Sometimes I'm inspired into poetry. Sometimes I fall in love into poetry. Sometimes I tease myself into poetry. So there isn't a particular way.
Read us a poem and maybe tell us how you got into this poem,
Well-
what inspired it, whether it was... Because I think your last poem, you were angered into it in a way, weren't you?
Was, yeah.
Angered into poetry. And so, what is this one and what's the story?
Well, this is a poem called Cosmosis.
Cosmosis.
And Cosmosis.
Cosmosis.
And it's a song and a poem. And I wrote it at a desk with a couple of friends as a kind of a thing. Cosmosis. Let's talk about the science of how things break. How the heart breaks. How the age founders and shatters with no one listening. How the mind quakes. How we lose all that matters. Oh, the music of the bones, music of flowers and wise stones. Let's talk about the art of how things break. Things that were hard to make, things like peace and love and mead. How the lands shake, how the good is lost to the fake. Oh, breathe change by osmosis. Change and the music of cosmosis. But Sufis sing of how things turn. Things the others want to bury or burn. Things like unity, friendship, relativity. Things that when dead will mourn. How the music runs in the stream. Can we, in these troubled times, dream? Oh, the spirits dancing in the slipstream. Power and fire in the drum dream.
Can we in these troubled times dream? God, good question. How did that poem come to you? And how long did it take you to write? And do you revise it? Give us something, a feel of the process.
It took me 5 minutes to write.
What?
And I was in the presence of friends, hard-drinking, hard-smoking friends. One was a Nigerian legend, a drummer called Tony Allen, who was a drummer of the legendary fella Nicola Pokuti. And the other was the lead singer of Blur, Damon Albarn. Tony Allen had summoned me to write a poem for him because he was putting out the album which turned out to be his last album. And they were drinking and talking and reading from Sartre's Being and Nothingness. And I just thought, well, if I wait to get home, I'll never write this poem, so I'm going to do it now. I'm somebody who believes sometimes that the best way to do something is to leap foolishly into it. And so I just leapt into the poem.
So you're in a room with other people.
Everybody around talking.
You write it in longhand?
Or a piece of handwritten piece of paper.
Ben,
that's unusual.
Sorry, you know when you're writing, you write novels as well. I first met you many, many years ago as a novelist. Was there ever a switch? Were you always writing poems and stories at the same time, or?
No, I began with poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I began with poetry.
Okay.
I began as a love poet. How did you begin, Roger?
So long ago, I don't remember. Yes, I think I started writing when I went to Hull University. I went as St Mary's. I went to school in Liverpool, St Mary's College, and Christian Brothers, Irish Christian Brothers, beating the life out of you. But it was okay. I had an education, but the arts were never part of what you did. I mean, poetry was for other people in a way. It was written by dead men, you know. In a sense, that's what that poem had. And then I went to Hull University, and Philip Larkin was, in fact, the sub-warden of the hall I was in, very small hall. And I became aware of poetry then, listening to Under Milkwood on radio. And then I just, for some reason, started putting words together. And it's become, putting words together sounds silly, but I've done that, as you have, ever since, today.
Now, somebody was asking me yesterday whether I have a beat in my head and the words form into the beat, or whether I have the words and the beat forms into the words. And it was a very good question, because sometimes one has a beat. You have a kind of obsessive beat, and that beat pulls the resident obsessions in your life into words. Sometimes it just happens that you have a rhythm in your head, and that rhythm calls forth what you are most obsessed about at that moment, or most actually secretive about at that moment. Do you get a beat first?
Yeah,
or do you start deliberately?
No, it's an interesting idea, isn't it? That sometimes
we're taking over your job here.
No, I want to hear you.
No, it's an interesting idea, that idea. I don't know which is first, because sometimes, you sit down and you're commissioned to write something. Occasionally, that's a very different sort of skill, isn't it? You've got to write about something. So I did a thing for the ITV this year about the Grand National, to write something for the Grand National, which I'd read on Grand National Day. And it's very hard when you start off. Think, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'm from Liverpool. I like, the Grand National. And then you think of, because my grandmother and all, they all loved it, so I'll write about that. Then you think, a lot of people don't like you doing that. They say, oh, don't like the Grand National, Roger. And the horses get killed, and you shouldn't be writing about that. Or can you bring it into the poem? And all those things. And you go, hang on. And so you just let the poem, you think about it, get rid of all these people's thoughts and thoughts that are coming in, like AI and this, which I didn't use. And then I started off with the poems about the liver birds taking off from the liver buildings, going over Liverpool to land, then I was in a world of your own, and that's what happened. You got to stop other ideas or critics or other voices.
You don't want to take them into poetry.
No, just
I don't know. I find for me, poetry is a place of a kind of a perfect stillness, and of a kind of innocence, actually. It's when I enter into that space. I think Henry James said that you have to become you have to become someone that ideas cannot corrupt, or something like that. And I like that thought very much. And when I go into the space of poetry, it's like I've got an invisible armor around me. It's one of the few times in which nothing can reach me, or get to me, or trouble me. Do you have that?
I do. Sometimes,
do you have that sense?
But also, sometimes I probably like you do, and we're talking about not sleeping well and older yet you sleep less. But
Roger and I have reached that age where we wake at 4, and that's it, isn't it?
That's it, yep.
I'm afraid. We could actually text each other. Have you been to the loo yet? I have. What are we going to do now? And then from 4 to 8, but I'm now going to start writing poems in my head. And so do you lie there? What do you do at 4 in the morning?
Well, they said I wake up often a bit later than that, actually, about 5, half 5, and there's always words going in my head. And it's almost like I worry about it. Well, stop it, will you? Fuck off. Leave me alone sometimes. I don't mean that. I mean, it's almost like words stringing together. I can't make sense of them. And sometimes I write them down. And then, that's good, this is good. I'm reaching a bit of paper, write them down, and can't wait to see it in the morning. And then I wake up in the morning, and it's something that I've written and published, 14 years ago.
Oh. I sometimes do an A to Z of poets.
Oh.
I start with Abelard. Did he write poetry? Abelard, as in Abelard and Eloise. And then I do Rupert Brooke, and then I judge the poems as I go through. Right. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, was he any good, all that.
This is when you're trying to sleep.
This is when I'm trying to get back to sleep at 4 in the morning. Right. I've realized I mustn't phone Roger because he doesn't wake till 5, it turns out. So, do poems come into your head? How are you sleeping, by the way, Ben?
I'm sleeping well at the moment, which is unusual for me, I must admit.
You weren't last time.
What's happened? I know. I don't know. Maybe I wrote a couple of poems since I saw you last. But poems don't keep me awake. Poems wake me up. Yeah. So I want to share with you a poem. This is a poem that I wrote many years ago when I was poor and broke and practically sleeping in the streets. And I wrote the poem in that state. It's called An Undeserved Sweetness. After the wind lifts the beggar from his bed of trash and blows him to the empty pubs at the road's end, there exists only the silence of the world before dawn and the solitude of trees. Handel, on the set, mysteriously recalls to me the long, hot nights of childhood spent in malarial slums, in the midst of potent shrines, at the edge of great seas. Dreams of the past sing with voices of the future. And now the world is assaulted with a sweetness it doesn't deserve. Flowers sing with the voices of absent bees. The air swells with the vibrant solitude of trees who nightly whisper of re-invading the world. But the night bends the trees into my dreams, and the stars fall with their fruits into my lonely, world-burnt hands.
Now, I'll be honest, on first hearing that, I don't understand all of that. But I'm consoled with that, because always when I get to, D is always Walter de la Mare, we can forget him. E is T.S. Eliot. And the Queen's Reading Room is lucky to be supported by, among other people, the great T.S. Eliot Foundation. Claire, I think, is here tonight. And Eliot somewhere says you don't need to understand poetry always to enjoy it. You can actually just accept that it's like music, it's washing over you. Sometimes you'll understand it, sometimes you won't. Your poetry is, to me, quite accessible. Do you sometimes read poetry and not understand it? Does it still work for you, or does it have to be comprehensible?
Yeah, no, I like it to be comprehensible. I think when I was growing up at school, a lot of it was, I didn't understand what was going on, in a sense. I wanted to, and felt ashamed that I didn't. But then you found poetry that had a story in it. That's why I probably went to half a league onwards, but things like the Jabberwock, which you don't understand, but you sense what it's about in a way. So, yeah, but I always like accessibility, and a lot of poetry that I just can't get into. I find that you think, oh dear, where am I going wrong?
What about you on accessibility and comprehensibility at the first reading?
I'm not sure that all poems are meant to be understood on the first reading. And anyway, I think there are different levels of understanding. I think with a good poem, your brain might not understand it, but somewhere, something in you grasps it. I think there's two ways of reading a poem. I think one reads a poem intelligently or intuitively. And I think with the intuitive reading comes what you talked about, instinct, music, sound. You just have a sense of a sound. Sometimes one word would speak to you. Sometimes it's a phrase. Sometimes an idea.
No, I think there's almost a sort of, sometimes there has been an academic snobbishness about poetry as well, that if it's accessible, it's not poetry.
Yeah.
And,
well, that's rubbish, of course.
Yeah, but when the Liverpool poets were writing, and the first book, the Penguin Modern Poets, number 10, which became very successful, but a lot of the reviews on that were really very, the three-headed pantomime horse from Liverpool.
That was a phrase used about
yes, used by Clive James, actually. And people, playing to the audience as if you're just writing it. Keep it simple, because people are simple. And, you're never going to reach the heights if you're accessible. That's certainly that.
That certainly is. A.A. Milne certainly felt that, because he wrote light verse. His line was, actually writing light verse is as easy or as difficult as writing not light verse, and it works in its own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we should have that kind of differentiation in poetry. Finally, I think poetry is, if it moves you, if it stirs you, if it makes you think.
Sure, and
if
it will
keeps
make,
you, if
yes,
it keeps you awake at 4 o'clock at night.
Who am I to say? If I don't understand the
morning.
poem, that somebody else will and love it. That's the difference. There's all poems of different kinds, aren't there?
Yeah.
Before I ask you each to read one more poem, and before we have dinner, do you have a favorite poet that you turn to, other than yourself, that on your bedside you would have? There's so many I would choose, but if you had to say one in my head, I'd say Yeats, just for the sake of saying
You said a name, not a poem.
No,
Which Yeats?
Which Yeats?
Yes. Oh. We want details.
Oh, we do want detail. I tell you the one I like, and you can tell me what poem it's from. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity.
Claire, which one is that?
Well, she's the Eliot expert, but she may know Yeats as well.
She knows Yeats as well.
Yeah.
That's the second comment.
The second, it's a very famous one.
It's very famous.
And I've got the line in my head probably because I was taught it at school. Gosh, weren't we lucky? To those of us who were taught poetry by heart at school, it's still in the rattle bag of our minds, and how lucky we are. That's what I often do, actually, at 5 in the morning. But choose just to recommend tonight, if we're not going to read your poems, we're going to hear one more from each of you, but if you wanted on your bedside, what do you turn to? What would you read tonight?
I've got so
poet? Would you got to choose one?
I've got so many poems. Okay, because I know it so well, and you're probably all going to go, oh dear, oh no. But it's actually really amazing. The Wasteland.
Okay.
It's accessible, and it's obscure, and it's accessible and obscure. And it drifts between the two things. It's quite a really seriously extraordinary poem. I've recited it off by heart. I know it. It's in my bones. So I wouldn't turn to it at my bedside because I've already got it in my.
You don't need to.
I don't
just lie in bed and just repeat it.
3 o'clock in the morning.
The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. Ben Okri at night. Honestly.
April is the cruelest month. When am I going to sleep?
And on it goes. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know how a bouquet of poems would include something by probably Charles Causley, who I love, Donna Thomas, Adrian Mitchell, and Person Blowing the Whistle Out There.
Yeah. See, this is how you can write a poem. The whistle blew tonight on the way home. You do it.
Are they telling us something?
The whistle blew as the tummies rumbled. Time to bring it all to a close. Okay, we're going to bring it to a close, and then food is served. I want each of you to choose one poem to round off this session.
All right.
If you would.
Yes.
You want to go? Who wants to go first? Age alongside beauty.
God.
You can go first.
All right.
Roger.
As I stand up, I'm going to read a very short one.
And then,
as I stand up,
as you stand up, and then do another one.
Because are we concerned about recycling? It's very important, isn't it? Are we?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I care about the environment and try to do what is right. So I cycle to work every morning and recycle home every night. Thank you.
Okay. And now your final
That
poem.
wasn't
That was the bon mot.
that wasn't
Lovely.
No, this,
That was a standing up poem.
this poem about children, wonderful having children, bring up children if you're lucky to have them, and it's great just caring for them. You want nothing back, do you? You know, for those of us who are parents here, you just it's give, love. You want some love back, you want some thanks. That's all you want, isn't it? You want nothing else. Here's a poem called Payback Time. Oh Lord, let me be a burden on my children. For long they've been a burden upon me. May they fetch and carry, clean and scrub, and do so cheerfully. Let them take it at turns at putting me up. Nice sunny rooms at the top of the stairs, with a walk-in bath and lift installed, at great expense, theirs. Insurance against the body blows of time, isn't that what having children's all about? To bring them up knowing that they owe you and can't contract out? What's money for but to spend on their schooling? Designer clothes, mindless hobbies, usual stuff. And as soon as they're earning, off they go. Well, enough's enough. It's been a blessing watching them develop. The parental pride we felt as each one grew. But Lord, let me be a burden on my children and on my children's children too.
Ben.
Well, this is an accessible one, I hope. It's a love poem, short love poem. And it's called, here I am reading without my glasses, amazing. A miracle, a poetic miracle.
It's the Queen's Reading Room effect.
Absolutely. And it's called, And If You Should Leave Me. And if you should leave me, I would say that the ghost of Cassandra has passed through my eyes. I would say that the stars in their malice merely light up the sky to stretch my torment, and that the waves crash on the shores to bring salt stings on my face. For you reconnect me with all the lights of the sky and the salt of the waves and the mists in the air. And with your passing, the evening would become too dark to dream in, and the morning too bright.
Wow. The joy of the Queen's Reading Room is that people of this quality are coming to share their time with us. As the evening wears on, dinner is served, we've got such treats in store after dinner. These two poets will pass among you. You may touch their garb. That's what the Queen's Reading Room has to offer. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, our thanks to Roger McGough and Ben Okri.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.